Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. On behalf of our beloved founder Acharya, Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajaka Shtottar Shata Shri Srimad Abhay Charana Aravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. On behalf of the management of ISKCON Atlanta, we welcome all of you for our Sunday program. And day before yesterday was Makara Sankranti. It was the auspicious tithi of our Ishtadev, Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, accepting sannyas for the deliverance of all of us. Therefore, let us sit down patiently and listen. Today's class will be a little long, but it's Sunday. It's snowing here in Atlanta, and there isn't much happening anyway. So we might as well sit and listen to the pure words of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Dear devotees, today we will read one chapter from the Madhya Khanda, the last chapter of the Madhya Khanda of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, the dearmost disciple of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. We are reading chapter number 28. There are 200 verses, and it is my desire, for the pleasure of Sri Guru Sri Gauranga and for the purification of our hearts, to read all the 200 verses. So let's get started. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Verse number 1. Jaya Jaya Shri Gauranga Vishnu Priyanath Jivagana Pratikara Shubha Drishtipat. Jaya Jaya Shri Gauranga. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is offering his obeisances, his glorification to Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Jai Jai Shri Gauranga Vishnu Priyanath. He is the Lord of Vishnu Priya Devi. He is going to leave Vishnu Priya Devi and take sannyas today. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is offering obeisances to Vishnu Priyanath. After this, he will not be known as Vishnu Priyanath. Hare Krishna. Jivagana Pratikara Shubha Drishtipat. Jivagana Pratikara Shubha Drishtipat. Please cast your merciful glance on all the jivas, on all the entities. Ei mate achena thakura vishwambhara sankirtana ananda karena nirantara. In this way, Shri Vishwambhar, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, continuously sankirta ananda karena nirantara. Nirantara means continuously. He was immersed in the ecstasy of Harinam Sankirtan. Sankirtana Ananda. Anandam Buddhi Vardhana Pratipadam Purna Amrita Aswadanam. Swechamaya Maheshwara Kakhane Kikare Ishware Ramarma Keha Bhujaite Na Pare. No one could understand the activities of the Supreme Lord, who is fully independent. Swechamaya, Swa Ichamaya. He is completely independent. He is Swarat. No one can understand him unless one is blessed by Krishna's mercy. Niravadhi Parananda Sankirtana Range Harishe Thakena Sarva Vaishnavera Sange. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always enjoyed transcendental happiness while performing Kirtan, Harinam Sankirtan, with his devotees. Paranande Vivala Sakala Bhakta Gana Pasari Rahila Sabe Prabhura Gamana. All the devotees were so overwhelmed, Vivala, they were so overwhelmed in transcendental ecstasy, Paranande, Param Anande, that they forgot that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to take sannyas. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had given hints that he's going to take sannyas. But in the ecstasy of Nam Sankirtan, everyone forgot. This is the power of Sankirtan. We can forget the greatest sorrow in our life by the power of Harinam Sankirtan, because it is Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipadam. It increases our bliss. Sarva Vede Bhavena Ye Prabhu Re Dekhite Krida Kare Bhakta Gana Se Prabhu Sahite. The devotees were enjoying pastimes with the Supreme Lord, who is Sarva Vede Bhavena Ye Prabhu Re Dekhite, who is glorified by all the Vedas, and he is the personification of all the Vedas. That Lord was enjoying pastimes with these Navadvipasis. Very fortunate people. Ye dina chaliba prabhu sannyasa karite nityananda sthane taha kahila nibrite. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Sri Nityananda Prabhu to a solitary place and he spoke to him privately. Shuna shuna Nityananda swarupa gosai ekatha bhangi be sabe pancha jana thai. Oh my dear Nityananda Swarup, please listen to me. I'm going to tell you something very confidential, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying. I'm telling you something very, very confidential, which only 5 people should come to know. Ei sankramana uttarayana divase nishchaya chaliba ami karite sannyase. Hare Krishna. Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu is telling Sri Nityananda Prabhu that now it is Makar Sankranti is coming and Uttarayan is going to start. On this day, my dear Nityananda Swarup, I will take sannyas. Nishchaya chaliba ami karite sannyas. Definitely I will take sannyas. Indrani nikate kato na name grama tatha ache keshava bharati shuddha nama. Very close by, there is a village called Katwa near Indrani. At that place lives a pure soul. His name is Keshava Bharati. Taya sthane amara sannyasa sunischita ei pacha jane matra kariba vadita amara janani Gadadhara Brahmananda Shri Chandra Shekharacharya apara mukunda. Only 5 people should come to know about my plan to take sannyas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. And who are those 5 people? Amara Janani, tell Mother Shachi, my mother. Gadadhara, tell Gadadhar Pandit. Number 3, tell Brahmananda Bharati. Tell Shri Chandrasekhar Acharya, who was also the uncle of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and his dearmost school friend Mukunda. Other than these 5 personalities, Nitai, do not tell anyone. So only Shachi Mata, Gadadhar Pandit, Brahmananda Bharati, Shri Chandrasekhar Acharya, and Mukunda. Other than Gaur Nitai, only these 5 personalities knew. Ei katha Nityananda swarupe rasthane kahile na prabhu iha keha nahi jane. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told his plan of taking sannyas to Nityananda Prabhu in a private place, Nibrite. Therefore, no one else knew. It was kept very confidential. See, my dear friends, I'm reading all these verses from Shri Chaitanya Bhagavat because they are very powerful. Krishna Lila Bhagavate kahe Vedavyas, Chaitanya Lila Ravyasa Vrindavana Das. Shri Vrindavanas Thakur is an incarnation of Shri Vyasadeva. By hearing these verses of Chaitanya Bhagavat today, all of us will get immense spiritual benefit. So please listen carefully. Panchajana sthane matra esaba kathana kahile na Nityananda Prabhura gamana. Thereafter, Shri Nityananda Prabhu told those 5 personalities about the plan of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to leave all of them and take sannyas. Sei dina Prabhu sarva Vaishnave rasange sarva dina gonaila sankirtana range. That day when Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided would be his last day in Nadia, Sankirtana range, he immersed everyone in the bliss of Nam Sankirtan. All day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was doing Harinam Sankirtan. Parama Anande Prabhu Kariya Bhojana Sandhyaya Karila Ganga Dekhite Gamana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu happily took his noon meal at home, cooked by Srimati Vishnupriya Devi and Srimati Shachi Mata. And then he went to Ganga to take darshan of his second mother, Ganga Devi. His mother is Shachi Mata and his mother is also Ganga Devi. Ganga namaskariya vasila Ganga tire shaneka thakiya puna aile na ghare. After worshipping Ganga Devi and offering his obeisances to Ganga Devi, Nimai came back home. Asiya vasila grihe Shri Gaura Sundara chatura dike vasilena saba anuchara. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came home and along with his anuchara, or along with his associates, he sat down at home. Se dine chaliba Prabhu keha nahi jane kautuke ache na sabe thakure rasane. No one knew that it was the day when their Lord of their life, Shri Nimai Vishwambhar, was going to leave home. And therefore, not knowing by the power of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela Shakti, they were happily enjoying his company, not knowing what was about to happen. वसिया आछे न प्रभु कमल लोचन सर्वांगे शोभित माला सुगंधि चंदन. This is a beautiful description, my dear friends. Vasiya acheno Prabhu Kamala Lochana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat there. His eyes were beautiful like the petals of a lotus flower. Vasiya acheno Prabhu Kamala Lochana. Sarvange Shobhita Mala. And he was wearing a very beautiful flower garland. And Sugandhi Chandana. And all his limbs were decorated with beautiful fragrant chandan, sandalwood pulp. Yate ka Vaishnava ai sena dekhi bare sabai chandana mala lai dui kare. By Krishna's own inspiration as the Paramatma in the heart, that particular day, my dear friends, all the Vaishnavas came to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the evening at his home. And everyone brought some sandalwood paste that they had made with their own hands and a flower garland that they had not bought from the Indian store. They had made garland with their own hands. Every Vaishnava brought a garland made with their own loving hands and sandalwood paste created with their own loving hands. Hena akarshana prabhu karila apani keba kona diga haite aise nahi jani. No one could understand how everybody that particular evening was being attracted to the house of Nimai. Everyone assembled there. Kate kava nagariya aise dekhite brahmadira shakti iha nahi ka likhite. Even Lord Brahma cannot count how many Vaishnavas came to take the final darshan of Nimai, his last evening as a Grihastha. Dandapara nama haya pade sarvajana ekadrishte sabe chahe na Shri Vandana. Ekadrishte. Continuously they were gazing at Shri Vadana, at the beautiful face of Nimai. And they did Danda Paranama. They offered Dandavat Pranam. They came to the house of Nimai Vishwambar and offered him Dandavat Pranam. Apana galar mala sabha kare diya agya kare prabhu sabe Krishna gao giya. All the devotees came and with their loving hands they offered sandalwood paste to Nimai and they garlanded Nimai with the garland that they had brought. And what did Nimai do? Apana galar mala sabha kare diya. Sabha kare diya means Nimai did not differentiate between Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Prabhujis and Matajis. He did not differentiate. So devotees would come and garland him. Immediately Nimai would remove that garland and offer it. You take it. To the Prabhus, he would garland himself. And then when he had to offer it to the Matajis, he would give their husbands. Please offer this to your wife. Please offer this to your son, your daughter. In this way, everyone in that assembly was wearing flower garlands given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Agya kare Prabhu sabe Krishna gao giya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave his final instructions to all. Dear devotees, do you all want to know the final instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Please listen carefully. This is very instructive. When we sit on the Vyasasana in the temple, there is a tradition in our Gaudiya Vaishnava culture that a garland of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is brought and offered to the Vakta, to the speaker. This is the origin of that culture. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered garland to everyone who came to his house and gave them instruction to become preachers of Krishna consciousness. So before we speak and start preaching about Krishna consciousness, we wear the garland of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so that we are very contaminated, we are very faulty, but by wearing the Maha garland of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, our Vani will become purified, our words will become Shuddha, they will become purified. This is the source. So Mahaprabhu garlanded everyone, took their sandalwood paste and offered them the sandalwood paste and gave them Agya, gave them order. Agya kare Prabhu sabe Krishna gao giya. Please sing the glories of Krishna. Now please listen, my dear friends. These are the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to all of us. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is instructing. Bolo Krishna, bhaja Krishna, gao Krishna naam, Krishna vinu keha kichu na bhaviha an. Glorify Krishna, worship Krishna, chant the names of Krishna. Do not think of anything other than Krishna. Yadi ama prati sneha thake sabakar, tabe Krishna vyatirikta nagai be'ar. This is the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yadi ama prati sneha thake sabakar. If all of you have love for me, yadi ama prati sneha, Thake sabakar. If all of you have love, affection for me, then Tobe Krishna Vyatirikta Nagai Be'ar, then don't sing anything other than Krishna Nam. If you love me, then don't sing, chant, speak anything other than Krishna Katha, Krishna Nam, Krishna Yash, Krishna Gun, Krishna Leela. की शयने की भोजने की जागरणे अहर्निश चिंता कृष्ण बलह वदने. Shri Mahaprabhu is instructing everyone. की शयने, whether you are sleeping. की भोजने, whether you are eating. की जागरणे, or whether you are awake. अहर्निशा चिंता कृष्ण. Ahar Nisha. Ahar means day. Nisha means night. Day and night, Chinta Krishna. Do Krishna Chintan. Think of Krishna and Balaha Vadane. With your mouth say Krishna, 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 Krishna while eating. Khaite, shuite, chalite, phirite, utite, bashite, yatha tatha namalay. Desh kal niyam nahi sarva siddhi hai. We should keep chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ei mata shubha drishti kari sabakare. Upadesha kahi sabe bala jao ghare. In this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed everyone. Ki shayane, ki bhojane, kiba jagarane, ahar nisha chinta Krishna, balaha vadane. This is the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Always chant Krishna. And then, ei mata shubha drishti kari sabakar. In this way, instructing everyone to chant Krishna and to talk about Krishna, to preach about Krishna, to glorify Krishna, he cast his merciful glance at everyone. Ei mata shubha drishti kari sabakare, upadesha kahi sabe bale jao ghare. After giving this upadesh, after giving these instructions to everyone, he told them, now go home. My Guru Maharaj, Param Pujya Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj, when he was commenting on this verse, he said that this Upadesha kahi sabe bale jao ghare. This also means that if you follow these instructions, you will go back home, back to Godhead. Mahaprabhu is saying, now all of you go home. Yes, go home. But it also means that if we follow these instructions, we will all go back home. Go back home, back to Godhead. To the divine Goloka Vrindavan. Ei mata kata jaye kata va aise kehakare nahi chine anandite vase. So many people came and they were all floating in ecstasy. There are so many people that not everyone could recognize everyone. Because so many demigods, devatas also came. 33 crore demigods, they also came to take darshan of Nimai. The last darshan of Nimai as a grihastha, grihijana shikshaka. The leader, the teacher of all the grihasthas, the ideal grihastha. Purna haila Shri Vigraha Chandana Malaya Chandreva Kateka Shobha Kahena Na Jaya. The beautiful body of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, decorated with sandalwood pulp and flower garlands, could not be compared to the insignificant beauty of Chandra, moon. Just see, Chandreva Kateka Shobha Kahena Na Jaya. Purna haila Shri Vigraha Chandana Malaya. The form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so beautiful with that flower garland and sandalwood pulp, decorating all the limbs of his body, that even the example of moon is absolutely wrong. Even the moon cannot be used as an example to describe the beauty of Sri Gaura Chandra. Even though we say Gaura Chandra, but our Vrindavan Thakur is saying that is not an apt analogy. Prasada paiya sabe harashita haya uccha hari dhvani sabe jayana kariya. After receiving the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Uccha Sware Hari Dhvani, everyone loudly chanted Hari Hari, Hari Hari, Ekalau Hate Kari Sukriti Sridhara, Henai Samaye Asi, Haila Gochara. At that time, at the very end of the evening, Kolavacha Sridhar came there. And what was he holding? He was holding Lauki, pumpkin, bottle gourd. Eka lauki hate kari sukriti Sridhara. Henai samay asi haila gochara. He came with a pumpkin in his hand. Lau bheta dekhi hase Shri Gaura Sundare kothaya paila Prabhu jidnyase tahare. Seeing the gift of the pumpkin, our Gauranga Mahaprabhu was very pleased with Kolavacha Sridhar. And he asked him, where did you get this? It had grown on the thatched roof of Sridhar's hut. Nija mane jane Prabhu kali chali baya ei lau bhojana karite nari laya. Gauranga Mahaprabhu thought tomorrow early morning I'll be leaving, and now it is late at night and he has brought this pumpkin. Therefore, I will not be able to eat this. But patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayasi tadaham bhakti ruparitam ashnami prayatatmana. It is Krishna's promise that I will eat what is offered with devotion. Shridharera padartha ki haile anyatha elau bhojana aji kariba sarvatha. So Nimai thought that no, Sridhar, Kolai Sridhar has brought this lauki for me, has brought this pumpkin for me. I must eat it. Even though it is not time to eat, it is late at night, and I was about to take rest for the night, but no, I will eat it. This is Mahaprabhu's love. Ete ka chintiya bhakta vatsalya rakhite janani re balile randhana karite. In this way, our bhakta vatsal, our Gauranga Mahaprabhu loves his devotees. He called his Janani, he called Shachi Mata and asked her, please cook this lauki. In those days, there was no pantry or a fridge where food could be stored. They would get fresh food, eat it fresh, and clean the kitchen. And the next meal, you bring fresh ingredients, make it fresh, and eat. So now only one lauki is there. So Mahaprabhu is saying that just cook this lauki. I will eat it like that only. There was no rice or no puris, nothing. Just lauki, just pumpkin. What happened then? Look at Mahaprabhu's Leela Shakti. Henai samaye ara kona bhagyavan dugdha bheta aniya dilena vidyaman. At that time, suddenly, one fortunate devotee came there and he brought a gift. What was the gift? Fresh milk. And he gave Shashimata and Gauranga Mahaprabhu fresh milk. He said, this is a gift. So then Gauranga Mahaprabhu said, Hasiya Thakura bole bada bhal bhal dugdha lau pakagiya karha sakal. Very nice, very nice. Gauranga Mahaprabhu smiled and said, told Shashimata, now milk has also come. So now you make nice milk and pumpkin. You cook it together like a sweet dish, like a dessert. You cook it together, very nice. Like pumpkin halwa you make with milk. Santoshe chalila shachi karite randhana hena bhakta vatsala shri shachira nandana. Gauranga Mahaprabhu knew that the greatest joy of Vishnu Priya Devi and Srimati Shachi Mata is to see him eat nicely. So he told them to cook for him even though it was late at night, and Mother Shachi and Vishnu Priya Devi immediately went to cook with great satisfaction. Santoshe chalila shachi karite randhana. Very happily she went and started cooking. In this way, Shachinandan Gaura Hari is so affectionate to his devotees. Just to accept the gift of Sridhar late at night, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, even though he was not hungry, he is going to eat that entire pumpkin. Hena Bhakta Vatsala Shri Shachira Nandana. His Bhakta Vatsal, he loves all the devotees. Ei mate Mahanande Vaikundha Ishwara Kautuke Achena Ratri Dvitiya Prahara. In this way, the Lord of Vaikundha Shri Shachinandan Gaura Hari happily passed the night in great ecstasy. Sabare vidaya diya Prabhu Vishwambar Bhojana Vasila Ashi Tridasha Ishwar. Lord Vishwambar, he sent everyone after his dinner, he sent everyone home and he stayed in his house. Bhojana kariya Prabhu Mukha Shuddha Kari Chalila Shayana Ghare Gauranga Shri Hari. Our Gauranga Shri Hari, he cleansed his mouth after finishing his dinner, bidding everyone farewell. Everyone went to their homes, and then he also went to his Shayana Ghare. Shayana Ghare means bedroom. He also went to his bedroom. Yoga Nidra Prati Drishti Karila Ishwara Nikate Shuya Haridasa Gadadhara. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu laid down on the bed and laid down in Yoga Nidra. We sleep in ignorance, but Krishna doesn't sleep in ignorance like us. It is called Yoga Nidra. Clearly it is mentioned. Yoga Nidra Prati Drishti Karila Ishwara Nikate Shuya Haridasa Gadadhara. And Haridas Thakur and Gadadhar Pandit could not leave the association of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. They knew in their heart, this is the last night in Nadia. So they slept close by. They also slept there only. Gadadhar Pandit and Haridas Thakur. Ai jane aji Prabhu karibe gamana aira nahika nidra kande anukshana. Ai means the mother, Shachimata. She knew that Prabhu karibe gamana. Nimai Vishwambhar is going to leave home and he will go take sannyas. Therefore, Aira Nahika Nidra Kande Anukshana. She remained awake and kept on weeping. Kande Anukshana. Continuously was weeping and she did not sleep. दंडचारी रात्रि आछे ठाकुर जानिया उठिले न चाली बारे न साग्रह लैया. During Brahma Muhurta, which means around 2 hours before sunrise, our Nimai, he got up from his yoga nidra and he decided to leave home. Gadadhara Haridasa uthile na jani, Gadadhara bole na chali basange ami. Haridas Thakur and Gadadhar Pandit, they were ready. They were also not sleeping. And they told Nimai, we will also come with you. प्रभु बोले आमारा नाही कारू संग एक अद्वितीय से आमारा सर्व रंग. Our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forbade Haridas Thakur and Gadadhar Pandit from accompanying him. He said, I will go alone. Please do not accompany me. This is my pastime. Don't come with me. Now, in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur does not mention about the interaction between Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Srimati Vishnu Priya Devi. But it is described in one entire chapter in the book written by Sri Lochandas Thakur called Sri Chaitanya Mangal. And that chapter is called Vishnu Priya Vilap. We don't have time to discuss that today, but that itself is a very heart-rending, very heart-wrenching description of the final interaction, final conversation between Srimati Vishnu Priya Devi, who was only 16 years old, and our Nimai Pandit, who is going to take sannyas, Nimai Vishwambhar, who was just 24 years old. Very heartbreaking, but we don't have time to discuss that today. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur doesn't write because it is too painful. So in Chaitanya Bhagavat, he doesn't write about it, but Srila Lochandas Thakur has written about it in Sri Chaitanya Mangal. आई जानी लेना मात्र प्रभुर गमन दुयारे वसिया रही लेना तत्क्षण. Shashimata realized that her Nimai Vishwambhar was going to leave and take sannyas. Therefore, she went and blocked. She blocked the door of the house. She sat in the doorway. Janani re dekhi prabhu dharita yakara vasiya kahe na prabhu prabhoda uttara. Seeing his mother sitting there, seeing Shashimata sitting there, our Nimai Vishwambhar, he went and he held the hands of Shashimata and tried to pacify her in various ways. Vistara karila tumi amara palana padilaya shunilaya tomara karana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Shashimata that I am what I am because of you. I am alive because of you. You have brought me up. You have fed me. You have maintained me. You have protected me. Whatever I have studied, it is because of you. Whatever I know about Krishna, it is because of you. Apanara tilardheko nalai ya sukha ajanma amara tumi badai la bhoga. Without caring for your own happiness, O mother Shachi, you have taken care of me and given me every pleasure, every happiness in life. Dande dande jato sneha karila amare ami koti kalpe o nariba shodhibare. The amount of affection and love that you have shown me, my dear Ai, my dear mother. Koti kalpe, even in a millions of kalpas, I cannot repay you. Tomara prasade se tahara pratikar ami puna janma janma rini se tomar. Ami punah janma janma rini se tomar. Birth after birth, I am your rini. I am indebted to you for your love, Shachimata. I cannot repay your love. Na pa rahe hum. Shunamata Ishwarera adhina samsara swatantra haite shakti nahika kahara. Please listen, my dear Ai, my dear mother, that this entire creation is under the control of Ishwar. Ishwara adhina samsara. No one has the power to be independent. Swatantra haite shakti nahika kahara. No one is independent. We are all under the control of Supreme Lord. Our Nimai is speaking in Bhakta Bhav, in the mood of a devotee. Samyoga viyoga jata kare se inat taha ichha bhuji bare shakti ache ka. Who can understand the supreme will of the Bhagwan? By his will we come together sometimes, and sometimes we are separated. Dasha dinantare va ki ekame ami chalile o kona chinta na kari ha tumi. I am leaving home now, my dear mother, but I promise you, We will meet again in 10 days. Vyavhara paramartha yate ka tomar sakala amate lage sab mora bhar. I promise you, I take full responsibility of your material maintenance and your spiritual maintenance. Nimai is promising his mother, don't think I'm leaving you and going and you'll be left behind as a helpless widow who has no children. I take responsibility. All your material and spiritual needs will be taken care of. I promise you, mother. Buke hat diya prabhu bale bar bar tomara sakala bhar amara amar. He took his hand and placed it on the heart of Srimati Shachi Devi, his mother, and said, "Ai, you are very dear to my heart. You are very dear to my heart. I take full responsibility for you." Jata kichu bale prabhu Shachi sab asune uttara na kare kande ajhora nayane. Shachi Mata was so besides herself in grief that she was hearing everything, whatever Nimai was saying, but she had no power to reply. She was just hearing, keeping the hand of Nimai on her chest, on her heart. She was just listening to what Nimai was saying. She was listening, but she could not speak. She could not give any reply. Only thing, she was just stunned like a statue sitting there, not moving. The only movement in her body was the constant flow of tears from her eyes. Tears were just gushing from her eyes, and she was just staring at her Nimai, completely stunned with grief. She could not understand what was happening. Jata kichu bale prabhu shachi shabashune uttara na kare kande ajora nayane prithvi swarupa hayya shachi jaganmata ke bhuji be krishnera achintya lila katha. Srila Vrindavan Thakur is saying that after all, Shachi Mata is as tolerant as Mother Earth. Mother Earth tolerates so much. All of us create so much pollution, we lie so much, we do so many sinful activities, but Mother Earth is always tolerating. And Shachi Mata is also tolerating in this way. Prithvi Swarupa Haila, Shachi Jagan Mata. She is Jagan Mata. Just like we have Mother Earth, we have Mother Shachi. Shachi is the Shachi Mata, she is mother, and one of the 7 mothers is Mother Earth also. And Earth is very tolerant, therefore Shachi Mata is also unlimitedly tolerant. Ki bhujive Krishnara achinteri la katha. Who can understand the divine pastimes of Krishna? How could Krishna leave his mother like that? Jananira padadhuli lai prabhushire pradakshina karitane chalila satvare. Then Nimai Vishwambhar circumambulated his mother, circumambulated his Janani, Shachi Mata, and then without once looking back, our Nimai, he left home. Chalilena Vaikuntha Nayaka Griha Haite Sannyasa Kariya Sarva Jiva Uddharite. Our hero of Vaikuntha Nayak, Shri Nimai Vishwambhar, he left home, not once looking back after this. He circumambulated his mother, he took his mother's hand and placed it on his head one last time, so that Shachi Mata could touch his beautiful, soft, curly black hair one last time and bless him. And then Nimai got up and left, not once looking back. And why he was leaving? Sannyasa Kariya Sarva Jiva Uddharite. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking sannyas for the deliverance of all the jivas. What was happening, my dear friends? The other day we were reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is also there in the previous chapters of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, that some students were very foolish. And one day in Bhakta Bhav, please understand, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has 2 different bhav, 2 different moods. Sometimes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in Bhagwan Bhav, like in Mahaprakash Leela, where he is calling himself Krishna, he is giving benedictions to everyone, he is allowing everybody to do Abhishek and offer him gifts. He is in Bhagwan Bhav. That is one bhav. And the predominant bhav of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Bhakta Bhav. So one day in Bhakta Bhav, specifically in Gopi Bhav, in Radha Bhav, Nimai was sitting and he was chanting Gopi, Gopi, Gopi. And some foolish student saw this and he came and told Nimai, "Oh Nimai Pandit, oh teacher, why are you chanting Gopi, Gopi? What punya will you get by chanting Gopi, Gopi? Instead chant Krishna, Krishna." And Srila Prabhupada writes in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita the detailed purport how this boy was foolish. On the path of prem, on the path of love of Godhead, there is no difference between chanting Krishna, Krishna and Radha, Radha, or Lalita, Lalita, Vishakha, Vishakha. There is no difference. It's a question of love. It's a question of prem. Just like Krishna Nam is transcendental, the name of Srimati Radharani and the Sakhis, the gopis, are also divine and completely transcendental, and they are on the same level. We should not think that Radhanam is less than Krishna Nam. We should not think, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the combined incarnation of Radha and Krishna. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladinir Shakti Rasmad Ekatmanam Api Bhuvi Pura Deha Bhedam Gatautau Chaitanyakhyam Prakatam Adhuna Tadvayam Chaikyam Aptam Radha Bhava Ditusualitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combined form of Radha Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna nahi anni. Radha and Krishna are one. Radha Krishna Eka Atma Dui Deha Dhari Anyonne Vilase Rasa Asvadana Kari. So in his Bhakta Bhav, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu was chanting Gopi, 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 and this boy started criticizing him. And in the mood, Gauranga Mahaprabhu was in Radha Bhav. Radha Bhav Dudi Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. He was in Radha Bhav, and he was in the mood of Radharani. When Radharani is in Man, when Radharani is angry with Krishna, transcendentally angry with Krishna. So when this boy came and said, chant Krishna, Krishna, instead of Gopi, Gopi, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu in the mood of Manini Radhika, Radharani who is in Man, he chastised this boy. Hey, why should I chant the name of Krishna? What has Krishna done? He killed poor Vali, hiding behind a tree. One lady was in love with him. Her name was Shurpanakha. And what did your Krishna do? He got his younger brother to cut off her nose and ears. Why should I chant Krishna, Krishna? The gopis gave everything. Mat prana nathastu saeva na para, gave everything, their sarvasva, to Krishna. And what did Krishna do in return? He left them and never came back to Vrindavan. Why should I chant Krishna, Krishna? What has Krishna done for us? This boy was shocked. What is this? What is Nimai Pandit saying? Not only that, Nimai picked up a stick and started chasing behind this boy to hit him for daring to correct his own teacher. And this boy ran, and he ran to the assembly of all where the Smartha Brahmins were assembled. And he told them that this Nimai Pandit has become mad. He wants to beat a Brahmin like me. So all the boys got together and they said, this time we will let him go. But next time he does such a thing, we will all gang up together and we will beat up Nimai Pandit. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Nityananda Prabhu that, my dear Nitai, you and I, both of us have incarnated to deliver these fallen souls. Patita Pavana Hetu Tuma Avatar. We have come to deliver these fallen people. But just see what is happening. The result is just the opposite. It's like giving a patient a cough medicine to reduce the cough, but that medicine is actually increasing their cough. We have come to deliver them, but they are committing offenses against us. And by committing offenses against us, they will never go back to Godhead. So what to do? The only way for them is that they should offer respects to me. They should bow down to me. Once they offer obeisances to me, their aparad, their offenses will be nullified, and then I will give them Krishna prem. And the only reason they will offer me obeisance, they think I am just an ordinary grahastha like them. The only way for them to offer respects to me in that orthodox society is if I take sannyas. Therefore, my dear Nityananda Swarup, I will take sannyas, so that these people who hate me, who are envious of me, who are criticizing me, who are planning to attack me, they will be delivered. Namo Mahavadanyaya. This is the most merciful Lord. He is planning the best for the worst enemies. And the followers, the true followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have this same mood. His divine grace, Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, he also very famously said, let me wish nothing but the very best for my worst enemy. You see, the same mood of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Shuna shuna are bhai prabhura sannyasa ye katha shunile sarva bandhaya nasha. Shuna shuna are bhai. Oh my dear brother, Srila Vrindavan Thakur is telling all of us, please listen to the prabhura sannyas, the story of Mahaprabhu taking sannyas. Ye katha shunile sarva bandhaya nash. All our material bondages will be destroyed just by listening to the story of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking sannyas for our deliverance. Sarva jiva uddharite. Prabhu chali lena matra shachi jaganmata jada praya rahi lena nahi spure katha. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left home to take sannyas, Shachi Mata became stunned and she was unable to speak. Bhakta sabha na janena esaba vrittanta usha kale snana kari yateka mahanta. All the devotees, they did not know that Nimai had left to take sannyas. In the morning, as usual, early morning they got up and they took their Ganga Snan, and then they came to meet Nimai. Prabhu namaskarite aila Prabhu ghare, asisa be dekhe ai bahira duyare. When all the devotees, Advaita Acharya, Shrivas Thakur, Buddhimanta Khan, Kolavecha Sridhar, everyone, when they came to the house after taking their morning bath, they came to the house of Nimai. What did they see? They saw a very odd sight. Ai sabe dekhe bahira duyare. Shachimata was sitting outside on the doorway. What is that? Prathame balilena Shrivasa udara aike na rahiyache bahira duyara. Then the great magnanimous Shrivas Thakur, he came forward and he was the first one to inquire, "Oh Mother Shachi, why are you sitting at the doorway? Is everything okay?" Jada praya ai kichu naspure uttara nayanera dhara matra vahe nirantara. Although Mother Shachi was jada praya, she was almost motionless, sitting there motionless. The only movement was the constant flow of tears from her eyes. Kshane ke balila ai shuna bap asaba vishnura davyera bhagi sakala vaishnava. After remaining stunned for some time, finally I, Srimati Shachimata, the beloved mother of our Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, spoke. "Oh my dear fathers," Shachimata addressed all the Vaishnavas as her fathers. "Oh my dear fathers, please listen. Shuna Bapa Shaba Vishnura Dravyera Bhagi Sakala Vaishnava." All the Vaishnavas, they have a claim to the property of Lord Vishnu. My Nimai was like the deity of this house, but now he has left. And therefore myself and Sri Vishnu Priya Devi, we are like two pujaris with no deity to worship. Therefore now what will we do in the temple without the deity? You can have this temple. This whole house, property, all the things belong to you. Allow me to go. It's already 1 hour, my dear friends, and we are only on verse number 70. There are 200 verses, so there is no way I will be able to complete this. But we will see how much we can complete, how much we can read. Shuni matra bhaktagana prabhura gamana bhumite padila shaba hai achetana. Achetana. Everyone became unconscious. When they heard from Shachimata that Nimai Vishwambar had left home forever to take sannyas, they fell down unconscious, overwhelmed by extreme grief. Think about it, my dear friends. Lord Ramachandra left Ayodhya for 14 years. But there was guarantee that he will come back after 14 years of exile. Krishna also told that I am going with Akrur Mama for this festival to Mathura. But after the Dhanush Yajna, after the wrestling match, after everything, I will come back. So there was hope that Krishna will come back. But in Gaura Leela, unlike Shri Rama Leela and Shri Krishna Leela, in Shri Gaura Leela, my dear friends, Nimai has declared, I will never come back. I will never come back. I will never enter this house again. Never, never, never. I will never come back in Nadia. I will never set foot in Nadia. Never. So think of the grief, think of the pain of Navadvipasis. Please do not think that the love of the Navadvipasis was any less than the Vrajvasis. The pain of separation that the Vrajagopis experienced was the deepest Vipralambha bhav. And that same Vipralambha bhav, the Navadvipasis are experiencing today, my dear friends, because Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu has left. Because those same Navadvipasis have appeared as the associates of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. It is an offense to see difference between Sri Vrindavan Dham and Sri Navadvip Dham. What lamentation! Ki haila se Vaishnava ganera vishad, kandite lagila sabe kari artanad. 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 Art means pain and nad means cry. They were crying in pain, all the Vaishnavagan. in Vishad, they were lamenting. Anyonye sabe sabar dhari gala, vividha vilapa sabe karite lagila. Placing their arms around each other, they were all crying. In Vipralamba, the pain of separation, the devotees have no one but each other. Kidaruna nishipoha ila gopinath, baliya kandena sabe shire diyahat. Holding their heads in their hands, they were weeping and they're saying, hey Gopinath, what have you done? What have you done? Why did you take away our Nimai from us? Na dekhi se chandamukha vanchiba kemane kiba karya eva ara papishtha jivane. What is the use of this papishtha jivan? What is the use of this sinful life now when we cannot see the moon-like face? The chandamukha, Gaura Chand, when we cannot see the moon-like face of our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what will happen? Why has this thunderbolt of destiny struck us so suddenly? They were rolling on the ground, they were beating their chest and crying, all of them. The entire house of Nimai was reverberating with the loud crying of all the Navadvipasis. They were all drowning in an ocean of separation. Kande sava bhakta gana bhumite padiya, sannyasa karite prabhu gele na chaliya. Knowing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had left to take sannyas, they were all crying and they fell on the ground. Kande sava bhakta gana haiya achetana hari hari bali Uchchaishware Kiva mora dhana jana Kiva mora jivana Prabhu chadi gela sabakare Kande saba bhakta gana haya achetana. All the devotees were crying and they became unconscious in grief. Achetan. Hari Hari Bali Uchchashware. Loud voice of chanting, Hari 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 Hari. What has happened? Why did Nimai leave us? We will never be able to cook for him again. We will never be able to bathe with him in these many ghats of Ganga in Nadia. We will never be able to play water sports with him. We will never be able to decorate his beautiful hair. We will never be able to anoint his body with different ornaments. Oh, he has taken sannyas. He has taken sannyas. We will never be able to see him in his pitambar vastra. Kiva mora dhana jana, kiva mora jivana, prabhu chadi gela sabha kare. What is the use of our wealth? What is the use of our family? What is the use of our jivan? Our life itself is useless without Lord Gauranga Hari. He has left us. Shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahe name. Mathaya diya hata buke mare niraghata Hari Hari Prabhu Vishwambhara Sannyasa karite gela Ama sabana balila Kande bhakta dulaya dhusara Mathaya diya hatha buke mare niraghata. Holding their hands in their head and beating their chest, they exclaimed, Hari Hari Prabhu Vishwambar, Hari Hari Prabhu Vishwambar, you left us. Sannyasa karite gela ama sabha na balila. You would tell us when you would go to bathe on the bank of Ganga. You would tell us when you would go to the house of Kolavicha Sridhar, or when you would go to accept prasad in the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya, or when you would go to accept prasad in the house of Shuklambar Brahmachari. You would tell us and go, you would take us and go. And now you went away to take sannyas, left us without even telling us. They were feeling very much pain. Sannyasa karite gela ama sabha na balila. Kande bhakta dhulaya dhusara. They were crying and they fell in the dust and their bodies were covered with dust. Prabhura angane padi kande mukunda murari Sridhara Gadadhara Gangadasa Shrivasera Ganajata तारा कांदे अविरत श्रियाचार्य कांदे हरिदास प्रभुर आंगने पड़ी fallen down in the courtyard of Nimai Vishwambhar's house. Kande Mukunda Murari, Mukunda Datta, Murari Gupta were crying. Sridhar, Kolavecha Sridhar, Gadadhar Pandit, and Gangadas Pandit, the teacher of Nimai, they were all crying. Shrivas era Ganajata. Shrivas Thakur and his family, his 4 brothers, his family, Malini Devi, they were all crying. Chandrasekhar Acharya was crying. Tara Kande Avirata, continuously they were crying. Shri Chandrasekhar Acharya Kande Haridas and Haridas Thakur. They were all crying. Haridas Thakur was crying. Prabhura Angane Padi Kande Mukunda Murari Sridhara Gadadhara Gangadasa Shrivasera Ganajata Tara Kande Avirata Shri Acharya Kande Haridasa Shuniya Krandana Rava Nadiyara Lokasaba Dekhite Aise Sabadhaiya Na dekhi Prabhura Mukha Sabe Paya Mahashoka Kande Sabe Mathe Hata Diya Shuniya Krandana Rava Nadiyara Lokasabha. Hearing this crying of all the devotees, Nadiyara Lokasabha, all the residents of Nadiya, Dekhite Aise Sabadhaiya. They came running to see what happened, what happened, what happened. Why is everyone crying so loudly? Na dekhi Prabhura Mukha. Seeing that Nimai had left, Sabha Payam Mahashoka. Their hearts were broken. Kande Sabe Mathe Hata Diya. They started holding their heads in their hand and crying loudly. Nadiya Yata Bhakta Tara Kande Avirata Bala Vriddha Nahi Kavichara Kande Saba Stri Purushe Pashandi Gana Se Nimai Re Na Dekhi Muara. This is the sad state of affairs in this material, my dear friends. Nagariya Jata Bhakta. In Nadia, whatever Bhakta Gana were there, all the devotees, Tara Kande Avirat, they were all crying continuously. Bala Vriddha Nahika Vichar. The children were crying, the old people were crying, everyone was crying. Kande Sabha Stri Purushe, men were crying, women were crying, everyone was crying. But Pashandi Gana Hase. The rascal atheists were laughing. Nimai re na dekhi muar. Yes, now we will never see Nimai. Katakshane bhakta gana hai ki chushan. Shachi Devi Vedi Sabha Vasila Mahan. After some time, the devotees somewhat pacified. They sat around Mother Shachi. Katakshane sarvanava dvipe haila dhvani. Sannyasa karite chalilena Dvijamani. Dvijamani, the crest jewel of all the Brahmanas, has taken sannyas. This news spread all over Nadia. Katakshane sarva nava dvipe haila dhvani. Sannyasa karite chalilena Dvijamani. Our Dvijamani Nimai, the crest jewel of all Brahmanas, has gone to take sannyas. Now listen to the plan of Nimai. The plan of Nimai always comes to pass. Krishna is Satya Sankalpa. Whatever Krishna desires will certainly happen. Certainly happen. Tara Ichha Balavan will certainly happen. Now listen what happens. Shuni Sharva Lokera Lagila Chamakkar. Dhaya Aila Sarva Lokanadiyar. Now, hearing this news that Nimai has not just gone somewhere, he has gone to take sannyas at the age of 24. The most beautiful lady in the whole universe, the 16-year-old Vishnupriya Devi, is now she has become a widow. Because sannyas means social death. Left such a loving mother, Jagannatha, Shachimata, he has left his beautiful, chaste, loving wife. He has left the association of such loving friends who were willing to do anything for him. He has left his comfortable life to take sannyas at the age of 24. आसी सर्व लोक देखे प्रभुर बाड़ीते शून्य बाड़ी सबे लागी आछे न कांदिते. Hearing this, even the ordinary people began to cry, Hare Krishna. तखने से हाय हाय करे सर्वलोक परम निंदक पाषंडियो पाय शोक. Even the pashandi, papi, the sinful atheistic people, pay shok. They were also experiencing great grief when they understood that our 24-year-old Nimai Pandit has gone to take sannyas. It's unthinkable. We cannot even think of taking sannyas, renouncing all the luxuries and comforts of family life, even at the age of 75 and 80. And Nimai has left at the age of 25, 24. It's unthinkable. Even the Pashandi, atheist, even the blasphemer, Paramanindaka, Pashandi, O Paya Shok, they also experience grief. Papishtha amarana chinila he na jana anutap kare sab kare na rodana. Look at the brilliant plan of our Nimai Pandit, my dear friends, of our Ishtadev, Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Look at his brilliant plan. Papishtha amarana chinila he na jan anutap kari sabe kare na rodan. Those people who were criticizing Nimai, who were planning and plotting to attack him physically, what is happening to them? Now they are cursing themselves. They are criticizing themselves. They are saying, Papishtha, Amarana, Chinila Hena Jan. We could not recognize Nimai. We are Papishtha. We are sinful. Anutapa Kari Sabe. Anutap. Anutap means to burn in the fire of guilt. To repent. Anutap Kari Sabe. Karena Rodana. And even the atheistic people, the blasphemers, the Paramanindak, the Pashandis are crying and experiencing anutap, guilt and regret. They are getting purified, my dear friends. Mahaprabhu's plan is working. Look at our brilliant Mahaprabhu. He has not even taken sannyas yet. He has only left home to take sannyas. And the Pashandis, the blasphemers and the atheists, Nindak and Pashandis, are already transformed. They are crying for Nimai. Papishtha amara na chinila he na jana anutap kari sabe kare na rodana bhumite padiya kande nagariya gana arana dekhi batara se chandra vadana. Oh, we will not see the chandra vadana, the moon-like face of Nimai anymore. Saying like this, the sinful blasphemers started crying. Nimai is so wonderful. Just think about this. He has not even taken sannyas, and the blasphemers and atheists are already transformed, already delivered. Keha bole chala ghare dware agni diya kane pari kundala chaliba yogi haya. These atheists, they started saying that let us chala ghara dware agni diya. Let us burn our house. We are so proud of the comforts and luxuries that our house affords us. Let us burn our house. Ane kane pari kundala. And we will not hear any mundane talk now anymore. And let us pierce our ear like this, so that the eardrum is blocked and we cannot hear any mundane gossip with the ivory earring. And let us become yogi hayya. Let us become bhakti yogis. Let us become mendicants. Kanfat yogis. They are called kanfat yogis. They pierce their ears so that their eardrums are blocked. They cannot hear any mundane gossip. Hena Prabhu Navadvipa Chadiya Yakhana Arakena Ache Ama Sabara Jivana. Why should we continue to live when the Lord of our life, Nimai, has left? This the atheists and the blasphemers are saying, my dear friends. I want to read everything. What to do? कि स्त्री पुरुष ये सुनीला नदियार सबे विषादबाई ना भाव ये आर. In this way, everyone, all the men and women, they could not think of anyone but Nimai. प्रभु से जाना ये जारा तारीबे ये मते सर्वजीव उद्धार करी बहे न मते. In this way, our Nimai knows सर्वजीव उद्धार करी बहे न मते. In this way, our brilliant Nimai, Vishwambar, the Lord of our lives, Gauranga, Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Sarva Jiva Uddhara Kariba Hena Mate, Prabhu ye jana ye jare, Tariba ye mate. In this way, our Nimai, he delivered everyone. Ninda Dvesha Adi Jara, Manete Achila, Prabhura Viraha Sarpa, Pashande Damshila. Those who were filled with dvesh, envy, and ninda, criticizing mentality, offensive mentality, they were also bitten. Prabhura viraha sarpa pashande damshila. They were also bitten by the snake of Prabhura Vishad, Viraha. They were also bitten by the snake of separation from Nimai. Think about this. Ninda, Dvesha, Adi, Jara, Manete, Achila, Prabhura, Viraha, Sarpa, Pashande, Damshila. Those who were Nindak, criticizers, and those who were Pashandis, those who were atheists, they are now bitten by the Viraha, Sarpa, the snake of separation from Nimai. They are experiencing separation. To experience separation from Krishna is the highest spiritual realization, my dear friends. Nayanam galada shrudharaya, vadanam gadgadaruddhaya gira, pulakair nichitam vapukada tava nama grahane bhavishyati. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada, in his Gaudiya Bhashya commentary on this section of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, comments that this 6th verse of Sri Chaitanya Shikshashtaka, it reveals the effect on the eyes, the voice, and the body of a devotee who is feeling separation from Krishna. Nayanam galad ashrudharaya, vadanam gadgadaruddhaya gira, and pulakair nichitam vapu kada tava nama grahane bhavishyati. So all this has been experienced by the most sinful offenders. What a brilliant plan, Nimai. He is sacrificing himself just like Lord Ramachandra sacrificed his own family life to uplift one very, very critical and offensive laundryman, Dhobi, and people like him. And just like Krishna, he also sacrificed his own happiness with the Vrajvasis and left Vrindavan to liberate the sinful people like Kansa and Jarasandha, Shishupal Dantavakra. Similarly, our Nimai Vishwambhar left the joy, happiness, comforts, and luxuries of his stay in Navadvip for the sake of delivering the sinful blasphemers. Therefore, no one can be more merciful than Nimai. No one can be more merciful. Sarva Jiva Natha Gaura Chandra Jai Jai Bhala Range Sabe Uddhari Le Dayamai. This is the 100th verse of this chapter, and we'll stop here, my dear friends. Wanted to read the whole chapter. There are 200 verses. We'll stop at 100. We read 100 verses. Sarva Jiva Natha Gaura Chandra Jaya Jaya Bhala Range Sabe Uddhari Le Dayamaya. Dayamaya, most merciful Gaura Chandra, what did he do? Bhala Range, very expertly, Sabe Uddharila. In this way, he delivered everyone. Lord Krishna also, when Bhrigu Muni committed the offense of kicking Lord Vishnu in the chest, what was the way to uplift that Bhrigu Muni? Because Bhrigu Muni fell down into a very abominable condition of a hunter. So to deliver him, Lord Krishna allowed him to shoot the arrow during the Maushala Leela, shoot the arrow into his own lotus feet. And seeing that he had pierced the lotus foot of Shri Krishna Chandra with his arrow, thinking him to be a deer, this hunter started lamenting. Now he had kicked Lord with his foot, but now he's lamenting that, oh, why did I shoot that arrow? And that anutap, that regret, that guilt purified him. And he went back to Godhead. Bhrigu Muni went back to Godhead. Srila Vishwanath Chakra Thakur writes in his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam like that. So similarly, Sarva Jiva Natha Gaura Chandra Jai Jai. All glories to Gaura Chandra. Why? Bhalarange Sabe Uddharila Dayamay. Most merciful Gaura Chandra, he has delivered everyone in this way. In this way, by taking sannyas, so that we realize our mistakes, we feel anutap, we feel guilty, and we experience separation from Krishna. And by experiencing separation from Krishna, we will be uplifted. This is the beautiful Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, chapter 28 of the Madhya Khanda by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. And the great scripture has been translated and purports have been written by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. So Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai, and Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Sannyas Leela ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. This chapter is very beautiful, my dear friends. I request all of you to read the remaining 100 verses also. It's very beautiful. Hare Krishna. I will stop here. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful narration of this pastime. I know we couldn't complete the entire pastime, but Prabhu, could you repeat which chapter and which?
This is Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhya Khanda, and we were reading chapter 28.
Okay.
It is the last chapter of the Madhya Khanda.
Okay. So devotees, please make note of it, and you can Prabhu, where can they find it? Like, do they only have to use the book, or can they find it?
There is a soft copy also. I will share the soft copy.
Okay.
On
Yes.
Panihati Banand. Hare Krishna.
Okay. That would be awesome. Prabhu, do you have some time for a few questions? Or?
Yes, we can take one or two.
Okay, so devotees, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hands on Zoom, or you can even put your question in the chat, and we can ask your question to Prabhu. So let's just give it a minute. And in the meantime, devotees are contemplating on the questions. I had one question, Prabhu. Like, in terms of in today's world, it's hard to find people who can give up things like that, or even if they do, it might be artificial. And how do we understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he left his wife at such a young age, like people would sometimes say that, he took up the responsibility, or, why did he even marry her if he planned to take sannyas, things like that, or what happened to her because there was no other man in the house to take care of them. So how would that be understood, and how can we understand that aspect of it?
Hare Krishna. This is a very deep subject matter. And actually, once Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, he was in Atlanta, a new Panihati Dham. And one god brother of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, he suggested that Maharaj, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent 24 years of his Leela out of 48 as a sannyasi. So we have Gaur Nitai on the center of the altar here in Atlanta. Sometimes, why not dress them? Why not dress Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as sannyasi? Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj started crying when he heard that. He said, how can you take away the beautiful kesh, the beautiful hair of my Gauranga Mahaprabhu? How can you take away all his jewelry? How can you take away all these beautiful soft silk clothes that he is wearing? How can you? How can you? And thinking of our Gauranga Mahaprabhu in sannyas vesh, Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj started crying. This is pure devotee. This is a Gaura Parshad. This is a Gaura Premi Jan. So you are right, Prabhu. This Leela of Mahaprabhu taking sannyas, shaving his hair, beautiful hair. The gopis in Gopi Geet, they sing, Atati yad bhavan ahanikananam truti yugayate twam apaschatam kutila kuntalam shri mukham chate jada udikshatam pakshmakredrisham. They are chastising Brahmaji. Why did you create eyelids? Because when Krishna goes away in the forest to graze the cows, one moment of separation feels like a yuga. Truti yugayate. Truti is like one fraction of a second. Feels like a yuga. Truti yugayate tvam apaschatam. Apaschatam, and we cannot see him. And in the evening when he comes, kutila kuntalam shri mukham chate. They are looking at his beautiful face surrounded by soft locks of black hair. Kutila kuntalam shri mukham chate. Jada udikshatam pakshmakridisham. That time these eyelids have to blink when we are looking at the beautiful face of Shri Mukha of Krishna surrounded by his soft locks of black hair. Why did you create these eyelids? Yes. So the soft black hair, curly black hair of Krishna is so beautiful. And why did he take sannyas? And why did he leave Shrimati Vishnupriya Devi, who is an incarnation of Shrimati Lakshmi Devi? Why did he leave her like that alone? Why did he leave his old mother? So from a material perspective, we will analyze this, and from a spiritual perspective, Sadananda Ramchandra Prabhu will analyze this. From a material perspective, they were completely taken care of by senior devotees like Sri Advaita Acharya, Srila Srivas Thakur, and also there were personal servants. There was Vamshi Vadana Thakur, who lived for the rest of his life serving Srimati Shachi Mata and Srimati Vishnupriya Devi. And there was Ishan Thakur, the household servant. So materially, they were taken care of. The senior devotees were there and servants were there. And they had each other. It is described that before the sun rose, before anyone went to the Ganga Ghat, every morning Vishnupriya Devi would hold the hand of Shachi Mata and both of them would go to the Ghat before everyone else to take bath in the Ganga. And then they would come home and all day they would cry in separation from Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. No one ever saw Shachi Mata or Vishnupriya Devi outside the house ever again. Early morning, before everyone woke up, they would go take a cold bath in the Ganga, and all day they would be home in front of the deity of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Pranavallabh Gauranga Mahaprabhu, that Gauranga Mahaprabhu himself gave to Vishnupriya Devi before he left. We did not discuss that pastime today. Very beautiful pastime. So that deity was worshipped by Vishnupriya Devi and Shachi Mata, and they would cry in front of that deity all day. And you know how Vishnupriya Devi would chant one round of Mahamantra, take one grain of rice and keep it aside. And all day she would chant. And then whatever rice was there, she would cook and feed Shachi Mata. And whatever remained, she distributed to the devotees and servants. And then she ate some or did not eat at all. That's how she lived for 90 years. Hare Krishna. So why this was there? Although materially they were taken care of, but why did Mahaprabhu do this? Now let us analyze it from the spiritual perspective. So materially, it's not like they were left. Just like Srimati Sita Devi. She was not just left in the forest by Lord Ramachandra. Lord Ramachandra kept Sita Devi very comfortably in the ashram of a Mahabhagavat, Valmiki Muni, with other ladies, other brahmacharinis. And Sita Devi and her two sons, Love and Kush, were very nicely taken care of. They got spiritual education, they got military education, everything was taken care of. That is one thing that we have to understand, that Lord did not abandon them. Materially, everything was taken care of. There were servants, there were other friends, family friends, and senior devotees like Advaita Acharya and Srivas Thakur and Shivananda Sen, who took care of all the needs of Shachi Mata and Vishnupriya Devi. Now, from a spiritual perspective, let's analyze. Sadananda Ramchandra Prabhu, spiritually, there are two things. There is Sambhog and there is Vipralambha. It is like eating and hunger. Eating is Sambhog. When we are with Krishna, it is like eating prasad. And when we are away from Krishna, it is like hunger. If we are all the time with Krishna, where is the question of hunger? We are always with Krishna, right? So Sambhog is glorious. Sambhog is very tasty. Just like eating prasad is very tasty. But then when we are taken away from prasad and our hunger increases, the Jathar Agni, the fire of digestion increases in our stomach and we feel hungry, we feel hungry, we feel hungry. And then prasad is given to us. Krishna prasad comes to us. We are so grateful. Yes, we sit and we honor. But if we are completely full and then Ghanshyam Prabhu brings a rasgulla, we are completely full. We have eaten till here. Then we will say, Ghanshyam Prabhu, give others. There are children. There are give. But if you are very hungry and Ghanshyam Prabhu brings a rasgulla, this is Radha Madan Mohan's Maha. Oh, immediately we'll take. So feeling Vipralambha is like feeling hungry for Krishna. So spiritually, it is also required. Therefore, in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, there is Sambhog and there is Vipralambha. Both are there. Why does Vipralambha exist? By itself, there is no need for Vipralambha. Nobody wants to be separated from Krishna. There is no need. But only because Vipralambha nourishes Sambhog. Just like hunger increases the joy of eating. Without hunger, there is no joy in eating. Hunger increases the joy of eating. Similarly, Vipralambha increases millions of times the happiness of Sambhog. And therefore, in spiritual world, in spiritual life, according to our Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, there is a very important place for Vipralambha. Because in Vipralambha, we see Krishna everywhere. Just think about this, Sadananda Ramchandra, just think about this. In Sambhog, when we are with Krishna, how many Krishnas do we see? One. How many Mahaprabhu do we see? One Mahaprabhu. He is before us. We are united with him. One Mahaprabhu is there. But Sri Srimad Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he writes in his book, Mathura meets Vrindavan, what happens, in Embankment of Separation, what happens in Vipralambha? In Vipralambha, the devotee is going mad in separation from Krishna. Where is Krishna? Kaha mora prananath, murali vadana, kaha jau, kaha pau, Brajendra nandana. Everywhere we are looking. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Gauranga Mahaprabhu? Where is Gauranga Mahaprabhu? We look at the Ganga Ghat and we remember our Nimai used to take bath there. We see Srivasangan, Nimai used to do all night kirtans there. We see the Angan of Jagannath Mishra's house. Oh, Nimai would sit here and take prasad every day. We see the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya, Nimai Pandit did so much kirtan there. We see the streets of Navadvip. Oh, this is where Nimai had led the revolution against Chandkazi. Everywhere we see Nimai, everywhere, under every tree, in every house, on every street of Navadvip, now we are seeing Nimai. So in Sambhog, there is one Nimai. But in Vipralamba, how many Nimai are there? Innumerable. Innumerable. So therefore, Vipralamba also has its place. And to taste what Radha and Krishna were tasting for 100 years when Krishna left Vrindavan, Vishnupriya Devi was separated from Nimai. And when there is Vipralambha, from a material standpoint, it sounds very painful. Is it painful? Yes. But is it a spiritual ecstasy? Yes. It is a great spiritual ecstasy to have Vipralambha. So it appears painful, yes. But what happens in Vipralambha? Our acharyas explain. When we are separated from the Lord, we cannot see the Lord in front of us. And therefore we go internal. And internally, we experience union in separation. This is a very important point. So there is Vipralambha. We are separated from the Lord externally. But internally, who is in the heart? Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridadeshe Arjuna Tishtati. Gauranga Mahaprabhu is in our heart. Krishna is in our heart. So when Vishnupriya Devi is feeling separation from her Gaura Hari externally, but what is happening internally when she is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nimai is present in her heart. And what is happening internally? In Vipralambha, internally, there is a tight, loving embrace. Internally, there is a union. So in Vipralambha, there is an internal Sambhog, union. It's not just Vipralambha. It is an internal Sambhog. Internal union is there. And that internal union is very, very deep and very, very sweet. Sweeter than external union. So therefore, Vipralambha is very important according to Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. And to give a taste of that Vipralambha, so that later on Sambhog will be millions of times sweeter, Mahaprabhu performed this pastime. So Mahaprabhu is accomplishing many things with one Leela. He is making the Pashandis and the blasphemers cry in guilt and anutap. And at the same time, to the devotees, he is increasing their love for him manifolds through Vipralambha. So this is a gift of Mahaprabhu. Is that okay, Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It was an amazing explanation. And it was completely immersive, the way you explained how we can see Krishna everywhere in Vipralambha. And I think we also observe that even in material relationships, when someone has not seen each other for many years, then there's even more overflow of emotions when they meet finally after many years.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Prabhu. So just, we have Tulsi Gopi Mataji who has raised her hand. Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. So I had a question related to a previous class I heard from you on Gaur Leela. Is it okay to ask today, or it should be only connected to the topic?
You can ask, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
So in that topic, we heard that Mahaprabhu was, since the milk drinking brahmachari was secretly in the kirtan in Srivas Thakur's home, and after some time Mahaprabhu said, why am I not feeling ecstasy? Is there someone who is not supposed to be here? So I've heard this many times, and I've had this doubt recently that how is Mahaprabhu, how would he tolerate me singing kirtan if I, that milk drinking brahmachari was much more advanced million times than me. If Mahaprabhu couldn't tolerate him, or I know of course it was a Leela and eventually he glorified him and all that. But how will Mahaprabhu, he is so mystical, even more mystical than Lord Krishna himself. Many of his Leelas, they are so difficult to understand. And how would he tolerate fallen souls singing in kirtan in not so pure state then? Like, or is he supposed to relish our kirtan also, or we should only relish his holy name? How is it? Is it two ways or one way?
Hare Krishna. There are different levels of kirtan. There are different levels of kirtan. When the pure devotees are doing kirtan, then Krishna is relishing that kirtan. When I am doing kirtan, that is, I am doing it on a level of nam aprad, because I am very fallen. So depending on our adhikar, depending on our level of spiritual realization, nam kirtan can be nam aprad kirtan, it can be namabhas kirtan, or it can be shuddha nam kirtan. The kirtans going on in Srivas Angan at night were the highest form of shuddha nam kirtan. They were not just shuddha nam kirtan, but they were the highest level of shuddha nam kirtan. Golokera Premadhana Harinama Sankirtana. The Rasa Leela of Radha Krishna Leela descended in Gaura Leela as the night kirtans in Srivasangan. And therefore, for those particular kirtans, Mahaprabhu had handpicked certain devotees who could participate. It was not an open program. And therefore, this milk drink in brahmachari was not allowed initially, to teach a point that it is not by austerities that we can enter into Gaur Leela. It is by humility and intense desire to get it, laulyam. And when this brahmachari manifested that humility, he took the chastisement of Mahaprabhu very humbly. He was immediately accepted. As far as we are concerned, we have to understand that our kirtan is not on the same level as the kirtan done by Srila Prabhupada sitting in Tompkins Square Park. We may be wearing nice bagalbandi, and we may have nice sound system, and we may go Facebook or YouTube live or whatever, and we may wear nice this and sit with nice the best mridanga and the best kartal players and best harmonium, and we may sing, but that is not on the same level where Srila Prabhupada is taking a simple drum, not even a mridanga, just a drum, and for 3 hours he's sitting in the sun in Tompkins Square Park and chanting Hare Krishna. That is Shuddha Nam Kirtan. That Kirtan caused the Hare Krishna explosion. So we have to understand that there are different levels of Kirtan. And our endeavor should be to purify ourselves so that we can give more and more pleasure to Krishna through our Kirtans. First level of Kirtan is that, I will do Kirtan and all my sins will be destroyed. So that's why I'll do Kirtan. Second level of Kirtan is, I'll do Kirtan so that I will go back to Godhead. Then I don't have to suffer in this world. But Shuddhanam Kirtan is when we are not committing any offenses and we are doing Kirtan exclusively for the pleasure of Krishna. Thinking that Hari Sada Vaset Tatra Yatra Bhagavata Jana Gayanti Bhakti Bhavena Harer Namaya Kevalam. Hari Sada Vaset Tatra. Lord Hari takes great pleasure in always residing in that place. Yatha Bhagavata Jana, where the devotees come together and Gayanti Bhakti Bhavena. They sing with devotion. Like Srila Prabhupada, closing his eyes, he was doing intense kirtan under a tree in Tompkins Square Park. Gayanti Bhakti Bhavena Harer Namaya Kevalam. They're chanting Harinam. So we have to try to come to that level where Krishna will actually take pleasure in our kirtan. When we do it for Krishna's pleasure, not committing any offenses. So we have to try to come to that level by purifying ourselves. But our kirtan is also kirtan. Tare dekho tare kaho Krishna upadesh, amar agya guru hiya tara idesh. Bolo Krishna, bhajo Krishna, karo Krishna shiksha. So Mahaprabhu has instructed that everyone should chant. There is no restriction. Anybody can chant. Nam namakari bahuda nija sarva shakti tatrarpita niyamita smarane nakala. There are no niyam. Anybody can chant. Everybody. Hare Krishna Mahamantra is for everyone. So our kirtan is also kirtan. But at the same time, we have to understand there is good, better, best. Best kirtan is the kirtan of the pure devotees. And we should try to come to that level as much as possible. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Dasosmi. Hare Krishna. So Anandaram, I think there was something in the chat block.
Yes. Yeah. So
okay,
one question.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So Sham Kumari Mataji asks, why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that he will not come back to Nadia?
Because in those days, Sannyasa ashram was very strict and sannyasis had to follow certain rules. Sannyas was considered to be social death. Socially, one was dead. There were no family relationships. One was not even allowed to hear the name of one's wife from the previous ashram or talk to any woman. A sannyasi was never allowed to cook. You will never hear of sannyasi cooking for themselves. They were not allowed to light a fire. They would do madhukari, or if someone invited them, they would eat. So sannyasis, they could not wear footwear. They could not have a fixed residence. They had to travel. Sannyasis had many restrictions, and one of the restriction was sannyasi could not live in their same village, because if they live in the same village, there will be many family, relatives, and then there will be all comforts and luxuries. And the whole idea of sannyas is vairagya. Vairagya vidya, nija bhakti yoga, shikshartham eva, purusha purana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya sharira dhari, kripambhutiriyastamaham prapadde. Mahaprabhu especially come to teach us vairagya vidya, nija bhakti yoga. So vairagi, a sannyasi, is very renounced and doesn't even come to one's village again. So therefore Mahaprabhu said, I will not come to Nadia. So he came to Shantipur, but did not come to Nadia. Is that okay, Mataji? Sham Kumari Mataji? Does it answer your question? Hare Krishna.